All right, I just got the recording announcement. So could you confirm the setup? Everybody online, and you've got a record of all the people attending, Barb?
Yes.
Okay, real good. And so if we could have a roll call just for the record, Don Easted,
Aaron Knotak.
Jill Rockenbach.
Gary Wiesinger.
Dave Trudeau.
And John Andreezy.
Scott Bordeaux.
Barb Harride.
Greg Sager.
all right. So I'm looking to see if there's anybody new. John, appreciate the introduction of Greg. And again, Greg, welcome. Good to have you join us. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So Barb, could you just discuss the posting of the minutes?
They were posted on February 3rd at the Town Hall, Pritzels, and the Nakusa Port Edward State Bank.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So under announcements, there are a couple of things to talk about here. One is, I think many of you have heard about Water Week, our Wisconsin Lakes group, of which we're a member. They are having a virtual water conference. In the past, a fair number of us have attended the events in Stevens Point. And so this year they're doing it differently because of COVID. And they're having an entire week of presentations about water in particular, and a lot of good stuff out there. I think the agendas have come around. Barb, I'll ask if you could just send it formally following this meeting, if you've got an agenda for Water Week.
Sure.
And then the 5th day of Water Week, which is Friday the 12th, they are having a group of sessions, what they call local events. And we have been invited to participate. And I think it's a real good opportunity for us. So I think we've settled on the time. There are 2 other sessions going on, one at 2 o'clock, one at 3 o'clock, and certainly we don't want to interfere with that. So I've suggested we do ours at 1 o'clock, and that's not cast in stone. So if there's a better reason to have it at another time, I'm fine with that. But for us, it's a really good opportunity to branch out a little bit and reach an audience that we otherwise might not have occasion to reach. And we can tell a little bit about our plans for this year, give a little bit of a historical perspective, where we're going with our committee, and then the activities that we have planned for this year. And so we'll talk more about that as that starts developing. There's about 4 or 5 of us who have been talking about this and putting together a rough agenda. I would invite any of you who have an interest in helping us to put together a final agenda and the finishing touches on it. Please join us. What we're hoping for is an interactive session with a number of you on that. In that event, talking about some of the programs that you've been involved in. So we'll talk more about that. We've got about 5 weeks until we do that. And then the next thing on the announcements, Rachel has put together another program. And Rachel, I wonder if you could talk to us about the session you've got coming up.
Are you referring to Wednesday's session with David?
Reducing the health impacts of the nitrogen problem.
Oh, okay. So that is an educational opportunity that I personally am not assisting with. This just came down the pipeline from Extension. Basically, it's a national effort. So you're going to have specialists from all over the U.S., but they do take intentional time to focus on the Midwest and Wisconsin in particular. Really, if you want a deep dive into, nitrates in groundwater, how it moves, the chemistry behind it, the community impact, and just really the whole story about that. These workshops are every Thursday in the afternoon. I believe they go from like 2:30 to I think 5 o'clock, and they just kind of have running presentations. So you can look up those schedules and then see what interests you and what you want to tune in for at that time. They are free to the public, virtual, of course. And again, I will throw a link into the chat box if people are interested in registering for those.
Okay, good. Tell us a little bit more about Dave Trimmer on Wednesday, did you say?
Yes, that's another thing I can throw in the chat box. I don't believe David hasn't spoken specifically to the 14-mile group, has he?
Well, no, he hasn't, but he will be next month.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Yeah, he spoke to the Citizens Groundwater Group. That's correct. So David Trimner, he is the manager, co-owner of Miltrim Farms up in Marathon County. They're a very, very large dairy operation. They farm like 5,000 acres. They are the first clean water certified farm in North America. They really do above and beyond work in terms of being good stewards of the land and running a strong, profitable business. So a great model and a good, knowledgeable person to follow in terms of how they utilize cover crops and no-till in their system, not only to benefit ongoing harvest yields, but just really pushes that mentality of farming for future generations. So he is one of our speakers for the Central Wisconsin Farm Profitability Expo that has been running since December. Wednesday at 10 a.m., he will be giving his presentation on how their farm utilizes this continuous cover and no-till system in their dairy. And you kind of get a deep dive into not only how they, use those tools, but just really the philosophy of their farming in general. So good for all audiences. It will be a more agronomically kind of focused material, but always good to take a walk in another's shoes. So again, that is completely free. So I'll throw the link in the chat for registration.
Okay, good, thanks. Some of us have attended those. They're really excellent. And again, it helps us to understand what ag is doing about some of the soil health and water quality issues that we deal with. So thanks. Anything else in terms of announcement? Anybody have anything they'd like to speak about or announce?
Don, I'd like to say a few words about the website.
Okay, great.
All right. As most of you know, well, several months ago, Don and I contacted the Wisconsin Lakes folks and asked them to put together a website for our nonprofit group. They finally got that ready for us here several weeks ago, and we've begun doing some work on it. We did ask them to clone the Tri-Lakes website when they created ours, so that we would have access to all the content that we have put on for the benefit of 14 Mile over the last couple of years. So Karen and Barb and I are now in the process of creating a new look and feel and new content for our new website. And right now, our first goal is to have something presentable ready by the Wisconsin Lakes Conference in mid-March. So we're scrambling, but I think we can have a presentable website by that time. And then we'll continue to add content to the website through the period after the Lakes Conference up until Memorial Day, when we expect to do a kind of a formal launch of our nonprofit group, and that would include the website as well.
Good, thanks, Phil. And I had a sneak peek at it. I know that it's I think it's closed off to the public right now, but I'm really excited about it. And I think you're all going to like that website a lot. I think it really supports what our revised mission statement is about being inclusive to all groups and really not just a committee about the local lakes, but about the entire watershed all up through the 14 mile. So that kind of represents the new us. And thank you, Barb and Karen and Phil, for all the hard work you guys are putting in. So it's going to look great. So
Before we go to numbers, can we go back to number 4 and approve the January minutes?
oh, I'm sorry, I skipped that. I apologize. So has everybody had a chance to read the January 11th meeting minutes? Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, very good. Approved. Thank you, Barb, for noticing that and for mentioning it. Next item, any other announcements before I move on? Okay, I'm hearing and seeing none. 9 key element plan status. I've not had a chance to really talk to Kaysen about it. Anna, do you have any updates at all for us from Kaysen?
I have not had any updates from Kaysen, but hopefully we can get some for you for the next meeting.
Yeah, I think many of you have heard that Kaysen had a death in the family, I think within the past month, and he's got a lot on his hands right now. So I think we've got a lot of things going on as well. So I think for the time being, we'll just kind of hold pat on the 9 key element plan. And I think when Kaysen's ready, we can get an update from him. So under that is the video, which we'll hold off on, and then the flyer mailer. Karen, you and I are listed as responsible parties there. And let's just hold off until we can get some of Kaysen's time. Sound okay? Okay. So next item on the agenda is the YouTube channel. And Karen, I think you mentioned to me the other day that you and Rachel might take a stab at that. And I was wondering, any updates?
Well, we're going to be meeting, I'm pretty sure. Are we meeting tomorrow, Rachel? We are. So,
Oh, you are. Okay.
yeah, so we'll be able to update you after we meet and talk about it.
Okay, sounds good. I'll keep it on the agenda for next month, and by then we'll have an update, right?
Yes, we will.
Okay, very good. So the other thing on the agenda, and I know I've not had a chance to really think too much about it, but we had talked about doing some future videos and also to do some Zoom sessions. If you remember, what we did Kiss the Ground, and Rachel helped us, and we kind of co-sponsored that, and that was really a good exercise. And so we had talked about doing that again with perhaps other topically correct kind of subjects. And I've not had a chance to do that or to really work too much on it. Has anybody got any progress at all to bring up? Okay, I'm hearing not. So we're all on the same boat. We'll kind of put that on the back burner. We've been busy with some other things, so we'll get to talk about that in a few minutes. Scott Bordeaux had sent some information about a campaign called Clean Water Now. And so I put him on the agenda. Scott, can you share what you know about it?
Sure, Don. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, Clean Water Now is a campaign started by River Alliance. And what they're trying to do is get a referendum question on the county ballots. So it's a county level non-binding referendum. The referendum question is simple. Should the state of Wisconsin establish a right to clean water to protect human health, the environment, and the diverse cultural and natural heritage of Wisconsin? So recently, Wood, Portage, and Marquette counties have approved this, and it will be on the referendum on the April 21st ballots. They're going to continue pushing this and getting different counties to get this referendum, on the ballot and voted on. It's an attempt just to bring, water quality issues down to a local level. So again, River Alliance is behind it, and we need to support them once they get their referendum on the ballots.
Thanks, Scott. Hey, Scott, I wanted to ask you, do you know if Adams County is working on this at all? Do you know if there's been a movement to put this on the ballot?
Yeah, I don't know specifically. I know last time I had heard something was from Paul Piccolini, and it was out there, but I really don't know much more than that, Don. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well, if you hear something, let us know. I had sent an email to Paul, to Carlson, also to Bob Ness, asking the three of them if there was any movement to do as they did in Wood County. I've not heard back from any of the three, and that's why I wondered if maybe you were aware of something. So I will follow up again. Okay. Thanks, Scott. Any questions for Scott before we move on? Okay. So the grant status, the approval, I'm looking at Dave, and I think we're looking for approval about the middle of this month, right?
That's correct. So in the next 7 to 10 days, we should be hearing something. Sometimes it appears on the website before they actually notify applicants. So we can also just keep an eye on the DNR surface water website. It may appear there even before we get something official through an email. One other thing is I did hear back from DNR about the future of 14 Mile Watershed Committee being able to apply for grants. And there's a application. If you're not a town or municipal body, there's an application called a grant eligibility application. It's DNR form 8700-380. If you could write that down, because I tried the link to it today and had no success in opening it. So if anybody else can open that and then email it to me as an attachment, that would be great. But that's for conservation organizations, qualifying lake organizations, and nonprofits. So that is the process we'll need to go through, and that needs to be received by May 1st in order to apply for grants in 2021.
Dave, I'll follow up on that and see what I can get, and I'll let you know one way or the other.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Barb. So is Taylor Haas with us? I didn't see Taylor when I went through the list. No.
She's on the list.
She was on.
Oh.
But I don't see her on the screen currently, so she must have dropped off.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
She
bad
probably,
internet.
yeah, she saw her name on the agenda. So this, I think you're all familiar with the program here, but this is the result of the tour that we did with the folks from the Little Plover River and Wisconsin Wetlands and a few other folks. And we identified a potential means to denitrify some of the water in the watershed. And that's what this has to do with. And so we're looking for an update from Taylor. We have a potential project in the works for this year, whereby we would use some of the DNR acreage to do a test plot. And in that, we would raise the water level by blocking a couple of the ditches and raise it up into higher into the soil level, because the theory is that some of the elements are within the soil itself will work towards reducing the nitrates, take some of the nitrates out of the water. And so that in turn would clean up the water for everybody. And Greg Sager, you might, I know you're aware of this because you and John talked about it. So it's a benefit to the lakes, but also to those who use the water in the entire watershed. So anyhow, hopefully next meeting we'll get an update from Taylor, see how that's moving forward. We don't expect that that'll start much before spring and summer. Anything anybody have to share about that?
Yeah, I'd like to say a little something, just briefly.
Okay.
I received, and I'm sure most of you did, I didn't look at who the copies were to, but received a very interesting missive from Scott Provost this morning. And in that, he mentioned the ground surface water connection and a lot of misinformation that people have had over the years. I don't want to go into depth with it. We've got too long of an agenda to really approach that. But the thing here is that we need to remember that we're dealing primarily with groundwater, and that's one of the biggest things that's driven this 9 key element plan. So a lot of the things that people, and not that our group has done this, but a lot of misconceptions on people's part are that surface water is everything, and the groundwater really doesn't have any application to anything to do other than putting a well in the ground and sucking water out. So maybe we can put this thing into a synopsis and send it to those that don't have it. I think it was a very, very good piece of information, very well written.
I agree. Hey, thanks for adding that, John. And just to add to that conversation, it's kind of interesting because this, again, and we talked about this once before, I think, but this is a solution that popped up just through reaching out to other groups. And it's interesting, you won't find it in the 9 key element plan, but again, our mission statement is all about following that plan, but also reaching out to find other technologies and science that might help us clean up the watershed. And I guess under that category, it's not mentioned specifically here on the agenda, but somewhat similar. If you remember, Todd had spoken with us last month, I think it was, and he talked about how blast furnace slag is being used to remove phosphorus and coincidentally nitrates from water. And so I tried to put into words my understanding of what he had talked about, and we've had a little back and forth about that. And Scott Bordeaux has helped because he worked with Todd. And so anyway, I think we have an understanding about that. And I know it's early in the process. This is a fairly new technology, but here again, we have another, I guess, cartridge in our gun belt to help in this fight for clean water. So anyhow, that's interesting. And I would like to see us have a couple of test programs out there in the DNR parcels this coming year. So, all right. Anything more about that, John? Anything to add? No. Okay. Thank you for that. Committee direction. This is a big topic. We've been talking about this for a couple of months now. You heard Phil talking about the nonprofit. And so we put together a group of us, a work group that represented each of our lakes, and then John Andresi as our member at large, and a couple of other people to really study where we go with this. And if you remember, a few months back, we had rewritten our mission statement and our goals, and our intent was to rewrite the mission statement and goals because they had been written when our group was first formed in 2016. And certainly things have changed a lot. Since then, we've gotten recognition from the DNR for the work that's been done with testing and all, and with our programs with fertilizer reduction and such. Also with the 9 key element plan, which is really watershed wide. And so while our focus early on had been about our own lakes, we know that the solution is a full watershed solution. And so we knew that as a committee, we had to do something to open up the committee so that it's appealing to everybody, all the stakeholders in the watershed. And for those who've read some of the 19 Inland Plan, you probably remember that there are at least 50 stakeholders and stakeholder groups within our watershed. So there's a lot of us involved in this overall process. So we rewrote the mission statement because we want this committee to be not just about the lakes at the tail end of this. We want this committee to be about the entire watershed. And it's our hope really that all the stakeholders will be comfortable working with us as a group. So we approach this and we had 3 objectives in mind. The one is to be more inclusive to everyone in the watershed so we can work on this as a group. The second thing is to create some longevity or long-term viability to the committee itself, because again, we're a group of volunteer citizens. This project is a 10-year project that'll kick off this year. And so we want to make sure there's some continuation of the work we've done by having a more formalized group put together. And then the third thing was access to money. Whereas we've been funded primarily by Tri-Lakes and the town of Rome, we understand that if we're a non-municipal committee, a nonprofit committee, a 501c3 specifically, we know that we have access to a lot more money, a lot more funding. And so a group of us sat down and we looked at all of the pros and cons of being a 501c3 and worked with the current town attorney, Nick Flanagan, to talk about what it would take for us to be a committee. So long story short, we have processed all the paperwork. We're now waiting for the final approval from the state that names us a nonprofit committee. And in doing that, we've put together a beginning organization, a group of officers, and a group of board members, the directors, who will start this out. It's our intent to have a board of directors large enough to represent a good share of the stakeholders on our watershed. Again, we want to be inclusive, and we'd like to be driven by the overall watershed and the interests in the watershed. So we're making really good progress. There's a ton of work to do. A number of people involved in, and I'll just name the folks who are on this committee. You all know them. Dave Trudeau, Scott Bordeaux, Karen Knotek, Phil, John Andresi, Barb, and myself. Have I forgotten anybody? I don't have it written down, but from memory, that's the group of us who've been working together now for a couple of months, and primarily through Zoom. And so I think we've got a lot of the pieces in place. It's really exciting. And it's opened up just a whole myriad of things. And I think we're all encouraged by the fact that we can really put something together that lasts a good long time. It will carry on regardless of whether each of us chooses to be involved long-term or not. And so some of the things that are really kind of interesting, when I mentioned earlier about Wisconsin Water Week and the fact that we've been asked to be one of the local events, it's really a great opportunity for us to talk about the new direction with us. I think we have a fair notoriety out there, and a lot of people have come to know us because some of the work we've done. But this is an opportunity to reach a much larger audience and really to reach them from the standpoint of being a much bigger, more inclusive kind of an organization. So I think that's a positive thing. We look at this March 12th local event as an opportunity to do a soft launch. And so Phil made reference to the fact that his target and the target of his group with Barb and Karen is to have that done so that we have that in place when we have our local event on the 12th of March. And then longer term than that, our intent is to do a more formal launch, and hopefully we've got a handle on COVID, and sometime around Memorial Day, when a lot of our folks come back, we have an opportunity to get out there in the public and better promote this. So a lot of pieces in play right now. There's a lot of work being done to do this. And there are a couple of things I think are really interesting, and Phil is has done a really great job in helping to put together bylaws, which we've been back and forth with a few times. And recently, Nick Flanagan, the town attorney, reviewed them. And with a few minor changes, we're pretty much good to go. And so I wonder, Phil, could I ask you to just spend a couple minutes talking about the bylaws in general, and then talk about how we operate as a committee and what the members would be structured like in committees and things. So. You there, Phil?
Yep, I'm here. Had to unmute.
Okay, great.
Can never find that button down there.
Okay, good.
One of the important things that we wanted to accomplish in the bylaws was to structure the board of directors as a self-perpetuating board. So the board, as time goes by, replaces any members who have, retired or no longer want to be involved by a vote of the board. So the board is essentially self-perpetuating. We also set up an organization with 3 levels of membership. And I don't have it right in front of me. I know that we have we've established, we will establish members who are called committee members, and the committee members are the ones who will have a vote in matters that come before any of the regular committee meetings or the regular nonprofit meetings. We've also established a group that we are calling donors, who I guess we've decided to call them Friends of the 14 Mile Watershed. And those are folks who choose to donate to support our mission. And we expect at some point to maybe have a page on the website where we acknowledge those who have donated. And then a third group of members would be the advisors and stakeholders. As Don mentioned, we'd like to reach out to as many of the stakeholders in the watershed and invite them to participate in our meetings, and as well as a number of advisors. We have some now, we'll probably have more in the future, who will be encouraged to participate as appropriate in our regular meetings. Let's see, have I forgotten anything, Don?
No, I think I've got it, the list right in front of me right now, and I think you captured it all. Thank you. Oh, you're done, Phil, right?
Yes. Okay.
Oh, okay. Real good.
Over and out.
Yeah, I would add one more comment, and that is about the directors. We don't actually have a limit on it. Our target is, I think we had talked about potentially 9 people on the directors group. And what we envisioned is we want to maintain our link with Tri-Lakes and with the town of Rome. And so we'd identified that we would have a director from Tri-Lakes, a director from Rome, directors from within our committee group, and then also folks from within the watershed, some of the key stakeholders who are in the watershed, to represent that, again, that inclusiveness. And so that's all being formulated at this time. So a ton more things regarding that, and we've been meeting once each week via Zoom, putting all of this together. And also we're beginning to put together our soft launch for the meeting on March 12th, and then what we would call a formal launch of the new committee or alliance, which is what we're now calling is the 14 Mile Watershed Alliance. So anything to add from those of you on this work group? Okay, I don't see any hands. So we'll move on. It's a really exciting time. I think there's a lot to do, but I'm glad to see this coming together. John, do you have anything new regarding the upstream water testing?
My mic was off too. Just a little bit, Don. The first thing I want to reiterate the welcome to Greg Sager. It had not been for water testing, I wouldn't have met Greg. He happened to be making rounds on his marsh one day when I was in the water, and we had a very interesting conversation that has blossomed into a couple more meetings from that point in time. Having said that, welcome, Greg, and we hope to see you and continue to see you as part of our group. Maybe we can, well, hopefully we'll, there was talk, Don spoke of the idea that the watershed would be somehow represented in our association, and I look forward to the possibility of having you there. Having said that, I would also add that I have now completed 37 months of testing, and that's I think I reiterate that every month with a new addition. But what has changed with that is that the association with the Water Environmental Analysis Lab at Stevens Point has not discontinued, but we're no longer taking our samples up there. Due to some monetary constraints, we're now dealing with the State Laboratory of Hygiene. And I made my first shipment down there this month. So it's a new set of people. I'm very interested to see, you know, you can't say, well, this month, compare one month to another as far as testing results. The parameters that are used by the State Laboratory of Hygiene and those that are used by the university are identical. So we should expect a real continuity with what we're getting from our test results. I guess that's what I have for a report today. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Yeah. Anything new in Lake, Phil?
No, we'll just, you know, we're not doing anything, of course, in the lakes over the winter. We will hope to resume in May. Hopefully the DNR will approve testing. We missed May last year because of COVID, but I hope we can get all 4 months of in-lake testing in, plus the additional 2 months that we do in September and October. We're, I guess, at this point, kind of waiting for equipment and supplies. Anna, how are we doing?
I haven't heard anything since I've put in the order with the state coordinator. So I'm assuming she has a lot to order throughout the state. So hopefully closer to springtime, we'll get everything in.
Yeah, good. There's time yet. So
Yep.
that's it.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Anna, anything to add about the program?
Nothing really new. I do encourage everybody to participate in the Water Week. As you said, they will go over a lot of different sampling strategies and studies that have come from the program. So I think that'll be a cool way to kind of look at what we are doing and how it's benefiting people and other lakes. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay, thanks, Anna.
Yep.
Okay. Dave, anything new with Healthy Lakes?
Like I mentioned, we'll be hearing in about a week to 10 days about our 2021 application. So that anxious to learn about that. Just on another note, as my role as the Lake Sherwood Property Owners Association chairperson for our conservation committee. I'm organizing the fish sticks projects, continuing that I've done for a couple of years on Lake Sherwood. I checked last week, we had about 10 inches of ice. I'm hoping we'll have something like 14 to 16 inches by the end of this week. I'll go back out and check. And if that's the case, then I'm going to try to get volunteers to go like gangbusters to try to get our project for this year done while the weather is appropriate. So looking at the calendar and the weather forecast right now, it looks like around the 15th or 16th of the month, I expect to start harvesting trees. I've got a fella that has a pine plantation that he's gotten permission from DNR to remove some trees and put in a food plot, which he'd like to do. And that's not too far away. It's on 10th Avenue, just right where you turn north there by the cemetery. So so like I said, I expect to take about 3 to 4 days to drop trees. Once they're dropped, and then they need to be skidded out near the road. So then I need some vehicles with tow straps. I might have to get a contractor out there and push some snow depending on the weather between now and then. So then I've got another contractor then that actually picks up the trees, puts them on a 30-foot flatbed, and hauls them over near the south end of Lake Sherwood. Then the next phase is to again use trucks and tow straps and get them from that location then out onto the ice. At that point, then I have another contractor from Hoffman's with a skid steer that is willing to go out there and move the trees into the location that we need them. And then eventually we finally anchor the trees to the bank with cable. So anyway, a lot coming up in about the next 3 weeks. Hope we can get it all done by the end of the month. My goal is to get in up to 80 trees. So we put them in bundles of 4. So I've got my anchors all made up. Actually made them up last year, but then we never had more than 9 inches of ice, so we were never able to get out and work last year. Last season was not only too warm, but there was too much flow near the area where we work. So anyway, so I'm hoping by the end of this week we'll have favorable conditions, and I can get some people from Sherwood, maybe get Anna or some folks from County Conservation. Last time I did it, we had some County Conservation folks. We had some from County Forests or County Parks people, some DNR folks, in addition to volunteers from around the lake area here. So hopefully I can pull that all together in about a week. And if anyone from this group can be available, it's some work, but it's kind of a fun on the ground project to do and see the fruits of your labor.
So, Dave, anything we can do to help? Do you have enough people identified to assist with this, or?
I do not. All I've done so far is kind of just put out feelers, but I don't have anybody committed other than myself and a couple people who are on my Lake Sherwood committee. So I can use folks, anybody who can help with chainsaw work, anybody who can help just with a 4-wheel drive and a tow strap to skid some trees. Those are kind of the two major things that are kind of labor intensive.
Okay, so we have a MailChimp account for our 14 Mile group, and I don't know if it'd be overkill, but that gets out to, I think, over 700 people. Do you want to put some information together and we'll send it out, or?
Sure, I'd be glad to.
Okay.
As soon as I check the ice conditions later this week, so I know it's a go, then I'll coordinate with you.
Okay, sounds good. Good, great
And Dave,
project.
Dave, get me in the loop too, so I can post it to the Facebook.
Okay. Will
And
do.
Dave,
Yes.
Kason and I did agree that I will for sure be helping when we get more details. And then if Kason doesn't have any meetings or anything going on that day, he'll be helping as well.
Excellent. So I got just about met the minimum numbers right now. So
Okay, yep, let me know, Dave, and we'll put the information out there. Thanks for all your hard work. So in terms of outreach, not a lot going on. We're still, we're in contact with our friends at Wetlands and others, Rivers Alliance. As I mentioned, next meeting, we'll have Dave Trimner. And so that's going to be a really interesting session. The other thing we're doing is kind of waiting to get our session at least outlined for March 12th. And one of the activities that we've been working on is to have a group meeting. Thomas Houlihan from Wisconsin Potato Vegetable Growers had been in contact with Tom Lochner from Wisconsin Cranberry Growers, and they had talked about putting together a meeting to get a few parties from their organizations with some couple of interested parties from our own committee to have a meeting. And I don't know if that'd be a physical meeting. It might be a Zoom meeting, but would be that first event that we've been looking for a long time to reach out and build some bridges with our neighbors upstream. So I owe Thomas a call, but as I mentioned, I want to wait until we've got something a little bit more concrete to share with him. So anything else about outreach? Anyone wants to report? Okay, next category is lake reports. Anybody have anything they want to share about their lake?
I'd just like to share that on Lake Sherwood, when I had my fishery last month, that's our one annual fundraiser for our conservation committee for the work we do and for the matches for these grants. Anyway, we made a $3,800 profit on our fisheries, and we didn't have anyone. We didn't have anybody go through the ice, so that was a good day.
Excellent. Wow, that sounds really good, Dave.
Yeah, that was the second best we've ever done. So, given the COVID restrictions and everything, I'm very pleased.
Good.
John?
Yeah, John.
I meant to mention this in my report, but I think it's significant enough to include in the lakes situation. I don't have numbers to give you, but I believe that the groundwater flows that I saw last month are the lowest that I've seen in my 38 months.
Oh, really?
We've had a tremendous diminishment of outflow from Lake Arrowhead. Rob Borski told me last Wednesday night when we met to work on motorcycles that he'd been by the dam and there was no water coming from the outlet of the dam on that particular day. Don't know what that's all about, but well, just the fact that the precipitation has been down. But just informational. That's all I have.
Well, it's interesting.
I can speak a little bit on why there was a little flow out of Arrowhead. We had actually had a project that was supposed to be going on where we were going to fix the pipe, I guess you could call it, that raises and lowers the dam. But with these cold temperatures, ice built up really fast. And so we weren't able to adjust it for a day. And that had a little bit to do with it, but Tri-Lakes and Kason and I kept an eye on it. The ice levels have went down on the dam, so flow should be ramping back up.
Okay, just to add to that, or to subtract, however you want to look at it, part of my comment was about the upstream flows also.
Right.
The very, the 14 mile in particular was down to mere inches, where the month prior I had about 18 inches more flow level at the point that I sampled. So again, just an anecdotal thing, not meant to be pure science, but just a head.
I know on Friday, I went to the fishery on Saturday on Arrowhead, but on Friday, there was a lot of water flowing out of the dam, and a buddy of mine and I were both commenting on, wow, it's actually pretty surprising consider the amount of moisture we have had.
Do you deal with water levels on your marsh and within your flowages at this time of year?
Yes, right now they're down. I mean, they're down dramatically. We just put another flood on, and you know, normally the 14 mile that runs under our driveway has got, you know, 6 inches of water in it, and I'm gonna say it's down to 2.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah,
Everything. And that's why it was shocking on Friday to see Arrowhead having that much water going through the dam. I mean, it was up into the, going through the dam and then on 15th Avenue, and then they got the cuts going north and south, I'm gonna say, with the earthen dam, and the water, you know, was up in those, and that's what caught our eye when we were down there. We just happened to go plow out a friend of ours that lives just around the corner because he had hip replacement, and I would just wanted to take a ride down to see where my other buddy put his ice shack, so I knew how far I had to walk out to it. And, but that's what caught our eye, was the fresh water that was out there, and we kind of both commented, and we've fished it in the past, open water fished it, and it's like, wow, that's like open water levels.
wow. Thanks, Greg.
Scott, did I see your hand raised earlier? No, okay. Any other lakes reports? Okay, I see none. Okay, in terms of town reports, Jerry, anything to share with what's going on in town?
Town and Plan Commission are dealing with several subdivisions that are being developed in some of the meteor timberland. And we're, again, trying to slow down some of that development and control it. One of the things we've discovered was we got a lot of people that have bought those parcels that are camping, and they don't have a sanitary system. We thought the county had regulation on that, but they don't. They have an exclusion for RVs that have a self-contained unit, but someplace they still got to dump it. So we are changing our ordinance to include all properties in the town must have, if they're going to camp on it, they have to have sanitary sewer. We've had that for the lakes area, LD development or zoning, but not for the whole town. So that's being worked on, try to protect our groundwater and surface water. When they dump it out in the woods, some of it runs off. Other than that, that's about all I got that's lake related.
Hey, Jerry, a question about that. The regulation in the Lakes District, it doesn't require a pouch system, but it does require like one of the tanks.
One of the tanks with county approval, approval, and that in order to get that approval, they have to have a contract with a licensed pumper to pump it out on a regular basis. And so they can't just pump it in the woods.
Okay, so that's the kind of regulation you're looking to extend throughout the town.
We're going to put the same regulation on the entire town.
Okay, good. Thank you. Anything about the county? Anyone got anything to share?
I've been reviewing the agendas and minutes, but there hasn't been anything lake related. Other than I'm still trying to get some answers on our county forest that we are losing timberland rapidly, and be nice if we get our county forest going so we protect some of that.
Agreed. Yeah. Let's see. I don't think I saw Bob Binkowski from Tri-Lakes, our representative here. So I'm not sure that I have a Tri-Lakes update. I think what I would share is the conversations that I've had with Tri-Lakes about reshaping our committee to become a nonprofit. And certainly we want to maintain that relationship. And so I think we have mapped out the way that we will continue working with Tri-Lakes, understanding what the legal requirements are, because they actually cannot do donations. So, but it would appear that going forward, we will still continue working just as we always have done, where we have been the initiator of a number of grants that would be requested under Tri-Lakes banner. And so they would approve that. And so we'll work hand in hand that same way. And so I think we've got an agreement moving forward there. So anything anybody else would add about Tri-Lakes? Okay, so let's talk about the next agenda. I'd mentioned that Dave Trimner, who is going to be in the session that Rachel brought up, he'll be in that session this coming Wednesday. Dave is probably going to do a similar presentation for us at the next meeting, which should be March 8th if we follow the second Monday kind of a calendar. Is everybody okay with that date? Anybody have a problem with it they'd want to bring up?
I'm fine.
Okay, so we're going to do it March 8th, and Dave Trimner will be there. And again, he is part of the family who owns Mill Trim, which is, as mentioned, the first farm in North America to get the AWS certification. So should be really interesting to hear his perspective. They're members of EPIC, which is a producer-led watershed council that we've talked about many times in our meetings. And so it'll be interesting. I wouldn't doubt John and Dave and others who have attended those EPIC meetings. We probably have run into Dave and just didn't know who he was at the time. So it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. So with that, is there anything anyone wants to add to the agenda? Okay, I don't see any hands. What I'll do is I will rough out the agenda in a week or so. I'll send it around as a prelim. And if you think about something you want to add, you can let me know and I will do so. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time. Motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Second.
Second.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Greg Sager. Thank you for joining us. I hope you'll come again.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
your
the
input.
invitation, and yeah, thank you for the invitation, and definitely send me an email with the next meeting that's coming up. I'll do my
Okay, you're
best to
on
be
it.
there.
Very good.
All
You're
right,
on our
thank you.
list. Thank you, everybody.
Perfect.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks. You too.
Good day. Bye-bye.